PodcastCoug Season 5, Episode 4.
You're listening to the PodcastCoug Radio Network with your host, James Laurie. The PodcastCoug is your weekly Coug on Demand show featuring all things Cougs and Washington State Cougar football. And now, here is your host, PodcastCoug.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the PodcastCoug. I am James Laurie, the PodcastCoug, and you are listening to the PodcastCoug, where we're all things Cougar football. 30 minutes of Coug talk, and we're talking about Bob Robertson, right? The late, great Bob Rob, as we didn't get a chance to dedicate him on the first episode of the Season 5 of the PodcastCoug. The legendary Bob Robertson is on now for the first half of the segment here, and then the second half, of course, we're going to talk about USC, our upcoming game against the Trojans, USC in the Coliseum on Sunday. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Episode 4 of the PodcastCoug. We've got a new website, by the way. Check it out, podcastcoug.com. You're going to find some great stuff. Check out our future schedules, and they go all the way to 2031, especially our home and homes. Newly designed website. Check it out, podcastcoug.com. Bob Robertson, the voice of the Cougars, 52 years passed away on September 6th in University Place. That's Tacoma, Washington, surrounded by his family. He was 91 years old, and we just didn't get a chance to give Bob a tribute right here on the PodcastCoug. It just because we rolled in with Episode 1, and since we've had the cancellations with Stanford and the Apple Cup, the AC, of course, gives us the opportunity just to bring this just dedication, or excuse me, this tribute to Bob Robertson, the legendary, since we didn't have, right, a previous game. Apple Cup was canceled, right? So I've got this first half. We're going with Bob Robertson, truly one of the greatest, if not the best radio play-by-play sports broadcasters of all time, especially in the Northwest, right? You know, you've got Dave Niehaus, right? The personality of Dave Niehaus for the Mariners all those years, Safeco Field now at T-Mobile Park, the statue, right? But painting a picture in football on a beautiful day in the Palouse, even if it was raining or snowing, Bob would just bring it on, and it would be so amazing. And, like I said, if the weather wasn't ideal, you listen to Bob, you made it, he sound great. It was just amazing. And keep in mind, for those of us who have been around in the 80s and the 90s, when Cougar football, Washington State, was not on television every single week after week. There was no Pac-12 network. Back in the day, if we were playing the LA schools, UCLA, USC, we were always on ABC, right? And they were 12:30 starts, generally 12:30, 3:30. There was no nighttime, right? And then of course Fox Sports Northwest came, and we saw some immersion of television emerge, and of course now every single, with the Pac-12 network, it's just weekly. But back in the day when we played 10 games a year on the Pac-10, and if some of you out there can remember the Pac-8, but the Pac-10, we would be on TV maybe 3 or 4 times a year, right? 3 or 4 games a year. The rest was all glued to the radio, whether you were at an away game, listening at home on an away game, or at a home game at Martin Stadium, or at your own home listening to a home game. I would bring my radio, my Walkman, to Martin Stadium and listen to play-by-play with Bob Rob in my headphones. My wife never liked that. I was alienating her and the family, but I just wanted that quality play-by-play with Bob Rob, and I would listen to the radio and watch the game live. Of course, if you're at home, you always listen to Bob Rob. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So we're going to take a few minutes to just talk about Bob Robertson. For those of you who knew him, who listened to him, we've got to get this tribute out before, it's never, ever too late. And, his wife, Joanne, 59 years married, and he just loved Joanne so much, and he loved his work, the play-by-play for all those years, 52 years Cougar football. Never made it on a major television network big time like Keith Jackson at ABC Sports, but he didn't want to. He was a radio guy. He loved being a Coug, and actually got to start at Western Washington University, Western in Bellingham. You'd never know that, right? But And then he actually called 3 or 4 years of play-by-play for the Huskies at Husky Stadium in Seattle for, like I said, 3 or 4 years ago. Football, soccer, basketball, baseball, hydros, you name it. Bob called it, did it all, and just wasn't your average announcer. He just absolutely amazing, right? So just a gift like nobody else. He actually called 589 Cougar games. That includes basketball, right? So that's a lot of football games, especially when you're only 10 to 12 a year, right? 589 Coug games. And behind the mic and all those magical moments and seasons of Cougar football, he had the Cardiac Kids, the Palouse Posse, the Fab Five, the 1981 Holiday Bowl against BYU down in San Diego. That was the first bowl game in 50 years. As well as the 1998 and the 2002 Rose Bowls, right? Additionally, he called the Reuben Mays 357-yard rushing game against Oregon and the 1992 Snow Bowl with Bledsoe and 54 Apple Cups total, 54 years of Apple Cups. That includes those years at the Washington Huskies. So, and then of course he had 10 head football coaches that he saw come and go, right? So legendary career. He was selected as Washington Sportscaster of the Year 12 times, right? Who accomplishes that 12 times, right? As the Sportscaster of the Year. And just validating what Coug fans have said for all these years, simply the very, very best at play-by-play radio. 1995 was named State Broadcaster of the Year. I don't know what the difference is between the previous 12, like I mentioned. Anyway, Bob Rob was inducted in both the Washington State Athletic Hall of Fame and the Inland Empire Athletic Hall of Fame in 2001, 2002, and in 2004 received the prestigious Chris Schenkel Award at ceremonies held at South Bend, Indiana, at the Football Hall of Fame. And he got that Chris Schenkel Award. So, and then, he was the first broadcaster west of the Mississippi to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. So that's best of the West. First one ever. And was member of the Pierce County Hall of Fame. Of course, the just lots and lots of accolades. Gosh, can you just imagine that? And, they've named at Martin Stadium, there's the Bob Robertson Broadcast Suite. But we got to talk about a statue. This is really on my heart. Is it on yours? A statue. How about that? Right outside Martin Stadium. Right outside Martin. Would you put it on the north side or the south side? If you're going to choose between I'd say south, right? South side. And what about Beasley, right? What about the Beasley Coliseum? And where would the funds come from? Would it come from athletics, donors, or both? How about both? Is Patrick Chun doing anything about this? I really think we need a statue. Now, granted, we're in a pandemic year, COVID 2020, changed a lot, so much going on, so much on the plate that, unfortunately with Bob's passing in September, it was just in the middle of COVID. But we can't let this go by. I think we really need to do something about a statue, right? So, it's just a crazy year. We were lucky to get 4 or 5. We were going to play 6 or 7 games this year. We're lucky to get 4 or 5, but here we go. What do we do about this? Do we start a GoFundMe campaign? Do we get a letter to President Kirk Schultz or Pat Chun? Somebody out there. I mean, maybe they're working on it. We haven't heard anything. But who's calling for this? I just can't see this letting this go. This is something that cannot just let go as far as a statue. Take a look at Dave Niehaus at T-Mobile Park, former Safeco, right? You've been there. That big, beautiful bronze statue right up there on, I think it's a 200 level. Is it 100 level? Yeah, right. And so I did some digging, went to Google, quick search, and what does it cost? And I'm thinking $50K or less, assuming the university will donate the space. That's the concrete, the actual space outside Martin. And there's a guy, my quick Google search, it wasn't extensive. There's an artist up in Canada, Nathan Scott. He calls it a public commission art or a bronze sculptures of people. And I think $50K is reasonable or the right number, and I don't think that's difficult to obtain, right? I mean, with donors and people stepping up, and maybe the athletics can step in. We know it's been a difficult year with revenue. Like I said, there were originally going to be, right, this year was going to be 12 games, down to 7, now down to 4 or 5 if we're lucky. And so revenue is tight and the difficulties. But I think that if we just did something about this, there's enough fans, there's enough people, there's enough broadcasters all over the country that worked with Bob in all, Bob worked at KJR, he worked at several stations in Seattle, worked at Tacoma all those years, worked in Spokane. There's so many broadcasters that know Bob that would just love to get involved financially. It doesn't have to be a big sacrifice, right? $50,000 I wouldn't think it would take that long, but we need to do something. If you've got some ideas, you could reach me on my website. I've got my contact information. Let's do this. And some other things about Bob Robertson, 23 years as the voice of the Cougars, right, including NCAA tournaments, spent 30 years in the PCL baseball for the Pacific Coast League at Seattle and Tacoma. Did play-by-play for soccer in Seattle, Tacoma, and Portland. Like I said, he did boxing, wrestling, hockey, hydroplane races. I don't know if it was Tri-Cities or Seattle, but he did hydros, did some games with the Seattle Mariners in the 1990s, and served as a television sports anchor director in Seattle for 25 years at a television station. Back then it was KSTW Channel 11 for 25 years as an anchor on TV. Longtime voice of the Spokane Indians baseball team and PLU basketball. And then do you know this? He spent a couple of years at Notre Dame in the 1950s on television as the voice of the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. That's interesting. Born in Fullerton, California, graduated from Blaine High School up there North Blaine, next to the Canadian border. And then, of course, he jumped over to Western Washington University, started his broadcast career. 1948, how about this? Did you know this? 1948, Bob Robertson signed to play professional baseball. Right. And he did. I didn't know that, right? A year later, he quit. It was probably a Canadian club, quit playing pro baseball to jump on and become the voice of the Wenatchee Chiefs baseball club. And that was his first full-time broadcasting gig. He went with his heart, right? And the rest is history. Wife, Joanne, married for 59 years. And, of course, she passed away in 2011. He's got four kids and 7 grandchildren. And remember his signature line, right? Remember this: always be a good sport. Be a good sport always.
And here come the Cougars. Here's the snap, the turn, counter option, pitch back to Mays, caught it low, upfield to the 30, 35, 40. He's gone. Ball is caught by Mays, broke a tackle, 50, might go it. 40, 30 down the right sideline, 20, 15, 10, a block. He goes in, touchdown, Washington State, Reuben Mays. Oh, Reuben makes it look so easy.
Man open, Bouchard got it, 25-20. He's gone, 10-5, touchdown, Washington State. The Cougars score.
Cougar fans are standing in their crimson and gray, cheering their team off the field. Bledsoe calls his play, has the ball, gives to Chambé, fakes to Chambé. He's back there all by himself, throws a home run ball for Davis from the end zone to Bobo. Oh! Washington State will hit Bobo. Back goes Watson. Here's the rush. Here's the throw to the end zone. Intercepted. Washington State's got it. I think it's Jensen. Washington State ball, and we're going to fly home without an airplane.
Darling. Back to pass goes Leaf. Here's the rush. He throws to the end zone. Touchdown, Washington State. That ball is caught by Kevin McKenzie for a touchdown. The Fab Five strikes again. I tell you, they go after the heads high in this first Rose Bowl appearance in 67 years here at Pasadena, California. Hand off to Fargas. Started left, comes back right. He's caught behind the line, thrown for a loss. Ryan Long got it. Snap spotted. The kick is up. It is end over end. It is good. Washington State wins. Listen to him. Gesser throws over the middle. Caught by Darling at the 5. Touchdown. Washington State. DeVar Darling. Back short drop goes the quarterback. Throw right side. It's intercepted. It is picked off. It is Trufant. Check off by Brink at the line of scrimmage, changing his play. Has the snap. Short drop back 5 steps. Throws, lobs it deep down the right-hand side. Mayan there. Caught it at the 30. 20 going all the way to the 5. Touchdown. Washington State. It is Brandon Gibson. Toss sweep right side. Harrison cuts back sharply and he might be gone. He's at the 50, 40, down to the 35 to the 30. Cuts left around a man. He's going all the way. 10-5. Touchdown Washington State. Jerome the Ghost Harrison. Pass goes Cowan. Throws over the middle. Knocked in the air. Intercepted. He's got it. The Cougars got the ball. He's got the ball. Cougar players are down on the ground, hugging and kissing each other. This place is pandemonium. Washington State wins it. 24-20. It's over the Washington Huskies, and the Huskies don't go to the Rose Bowl. Stand back, gets a block out of bounds, and the 20 game is over, and the Cougars are off the sidelines. The jinx is gone. The streak is over. Washington State has won it. Snap, quick throw to the left side. Caught out there, Harvey. Down the left sidelines, he's gone. 10-5, touchdown. Trandon Harvey, Washington State, and the Cougars take the lead. Here comes the pressure. He'll roll out to the right. He looks, he throws it down the field. Ball is incomplete, and the Cougars are going to win the Apple Cup. Price, the quarterback, back, and he's caught behind the line. Just intercepted. Cougars are going to win the ball game. Here's the snap spot. Here's the kick on the way. It is good. The Cougars win. Look at them. They're going to race out on the field. The crowd is going crazy. They're swarming the field. Washington State wins 31-28, and the Cougars are being mobbed. They're not going to get off the field.
This one you will read about, you will talk about, you will think about for a long, long time to come.
Bob Robertson, 1929 to 2020. And speaking about being a good sport, we're gonna talk about the USC and the University of Southern California, the Trojans, next, right here on the second half of the Podcast Coug.
Hey, Coug fans. You're podcasting with James Laurie and the Podcast Coug Radio Network. The Podcast Coug is your weekly Coug on Demand show, featuring all things Cougar football in Washington State. To help you get through the week, hit the subscribe button or check us out on iTunes, the App Store, iOS, Google Play, Stitcher, or at PodcastCoug.com.
The real estate agent you work with matters, and a great agent helps you own the home of your dreams. And your dreams come true with James Laurie at Coldwell Banker Bain, representing clients like you 24/7, from condos to colonials and everything in between. If you're selling, buying, need a price analysis, or just a contractor referral, ask James, winner of the 2015 through 2019 International Coldwell Banker Diamond Award, with dozens and dozens of 5-star Zillow reviews, and Seattle Magazine's 5-star award winner for 2018 through 2020. James Laurie, Coldwell Banker Bain, at 425-466-3672 or jameslaurie.net. Rock solid results.
You're listening to the Podcast Coug.
Two running backs in with the quarterback. Signals called. All man in motion going through to the right side. Handoff. Wings out to the right side. Touchdown, Washington State.
You are listening to the Podcast Coug.
Welcome back to the second half of the Podcast Coug. I am James Laurie, the Podcast Coug, where we're all things Cougar football, all things Cougs. Let Nick roll SC, right? Washington State, we're heading down to USC. They're 3-0 Sunday, 4:30 FS1. That's Fox Sports 1, East Coast prime time. perfect prime time on the East Coast. The line, USC opens at a 14.5 favorite, and SC is off to a 3-0 start. Clay Helton, and you know what you can say? They two of those games, by the way, out of the three, were come from behind victories. We're going to talk more about that later on here on the second half of the podcast. Coug. Now they canceled their game with Colorado, but they are off to a good start, right? So SC 3-0. Some Coug fans complained that it's unfair that we drew actually USC as our non-divisional game, and while the UW drew against Arizona, right? Was that fair? And then some say that both Oregon and Washington have the easiest schedule for this COVID year 2020. So what can we do? That's what we're dealt with, and we have a tougher schedule. And here we go. This is our toughest opponent of the year. Obviously, I think bigger than Oregon. Oregon has shown their weakness against Oregon State. We really hung with them at that Oregon game all the way to the fourth half, and then we kind of gassed out. But USC, we're going to take a notch up, right, heading down to the Coliseum. Incredible place, very difficult place to play over the years, but there's going to be no crowds. There's nothing in the stands, right? 77,000 at the Memorial Coliseum. What do they call it? The United Airlines now, United Airlines Coliseum. The flip side, all these games, it's kind of like, you can say that this is kind of a practice year, kind of, but, and then also USC kind of plays down to everybody's level, right? So, I mean, they're not Alabama, right? We're going to talk about that in a bit. And, we got to catch the Troy off guard. I mean, that's simple as that, right? Since we don't have an AC this month, it is possible the Apple Cup might be in a couple of weeks. We just don't know. But this is our big game so far of the year. They are at number 20, 4:30 kick Sunday in the Coliseum. And it's going to be a very interesting matchup for it's going to be great kind of on a Sunday. It's been a long time, right, since we've played in program history. I think the last time we were on a Sunday afternoon was the Aloha Bowl in 1988 was the Cougs last time. And, now the series looks pretty brutal, right, with the USC, right? I mean, we all know that. It's 60 wins for the Trojans, 10 wins for Washington State. That's pretty pathetic, right? And then 4 ties. And you can tell me we've only beat the Trojans 10 times. That's crazy. I remember a couple of the victories. The Drew Dunning kick in the third overtime. What was that? 19? I can't remember that. Long time ago. But in Martin Stadium, that was incredible. I wish I remember that year. Was it 2003? Right? I think it was 2003 was the Drew Dunning kick and it went to 3 overtimes. That was such an amazing game. But, we've only beat the Trojans 10. I can't believe it. 10 times out of 74 games. Of those 74 games, 4 of them have been a tie. And the last time we beat the Trojans was 2017. It was in Pullman. USC beat us in 2014 in Pullman, and then our last victory in the Coliseum actually was 2013, and then the last time we had we really beat a ranked opponent was that Alamo Bowl 2018 against Iowa State. And so it's been a long time, 32 years since we played a game on Sunday, and everybody's excited for this. The players, I mean, everybody. It's really cool that we're playing on a Sunday. And we've only played 6 games, Sunday games in program history in 100 and whatever years, 120 years or 100. So looking forward to it. Hey, Renard Bale and Travell Harris is going to, they're their go-to, over 100 receiving yards for both Harris and Bell. And USC's got some guys, right? Of course they do. Amon Ross St. Brown and Drake London are guys, those guys can make plays. A little bit about Jalen Watson. He committed to USC last year. Couldn't make it on academic requirements. And so we're so happy he's a Coug. Jalen Watson is a Coug, was going to be a Trojan. He's a Coug, and he's making some big plays for us. Now, we're probably going to use our 4 wides out, spreading across the field, right? Attacking every field vertically, horizontally between the tackles, and then get our run game in there with Borgie or McIntoshers. There is some noise that Max Borgie is going to return. I think he will be. If not, though, of course, we've got that ace in the hole with Deion McIntosh, and we're expecting some great results. Offensively, right, Jaden DeLora, he finds ways to make plays, right, with his arm. And remember, he's protecting the ball really well, and he's only got one turnover. Jaden's got one turnover so far this year. And, his legs, the guy can scramble, right, master at disguising the ball. He's so great at it. We're really excited to see DeLora again. I mean, we've only seen him twice. Just super excited. Borghi, McIntosh, they're averaging 119 yards. McIntosh is averaging 119 yards a game right now. So, and then we've got two phenom receivers, and like I said, Renard Bell and Travell Harris, and they're averaging 8 catches and over 100 yards a game. Perfect combination with JDL, potent weapon, and you can't ask for more. DeLora is it's just going to be exciting. Now, Clay Helton, right? He's respecting some of our guys. He recruited, by the way, Jaden DeLora. Of course, Mike Leach got him, but Clay Helton was recruiting him in Hawaii, at the high school. So for USC, their quarterback, Keaton Slavis, and he replaced, remember, JT Daniels. He got injured and he's out. And so we got, they've got Keaton Slavis. He's great. Now, 3 games, Sun Devils with USC. He had a school record of 40 completions, 380 yards. And a comeback of 28-27 over the Sun Devils, right? The next week, they had another fourth quarter comeback against Arizona. Wildcats, he threw 325 yards, a 34-30 comeback victory over the Wildcats. And then, of course, the Utes, that was their third game, and they did pretty good against Utah. That was actually their first victory over Utah in 8 years, by the way. And they're 3-0, right? So, but keep in mind, both Arizona State and Arizona were come from behind victories. So they ain't Alabama, right? This is not the Crimson Tide where they're just going to blow us and boat race us. There's no way. I think we can hang with them. The question is in the fourth quarter with our defense. Will we gas out? Will we tire out? And that's the question, and that's got to be coaching. We got to change some things in the fourth quarter, get some fresh guys so we can, we come out real strong in that first quarter against Oregon all the way through the first half, the entire first half. We dominated Oregon. We got to continue that, and it's not easy, to maintain the stamina all the way through the fourth quarter. So defensively, though, you got guys like Daniel Isam, and who's killing it this year. He's just nailing it. Jihad Woods, we can't say enough about Jihad, and we just really need our defense, like I said, to step up somehow just to make it through that fourth quarter and not gas out, right? And we, like I said, look at what happened in the Oregon game. And so now all of our USC wins, if you think about it, have all come down to the wire. They're always close, right down to the fourth quarter. So we need good coaching, good substitution, finish strong in the fourth quarter if we've got a chance with their elite athletes. It's just simple as that. There's no blowouts from Washington State to USC, right? There is not. And they come down to the fourth quarter, and that is just so critical. So think about it. This will be the first time we're going up against a lethal passing attack. A passing attack, which is concerning because Oregon and Oregon State use their running games to set up play action, but SC is just the opposite. They've got NFL talent, wide receivers, quarterback. They sneak their running back at you when they're not expecting it, and this is going to be a big challenge for our defense, perhaps the biggest challenge of the year, of the season. SC defense is 4 deep at corners, so our wide receivers will see a lot of man-to-man coverage, and that's just going to be a new challenge for DeLora. Just really hoping that Borghi makes it back. If not, we've got Deion. He's going to be there. It's okay. I mean, everybody's excited about Max Borghi, and let's hope all the hype makes up for it, but I'm fine with McIntosh. He's been doing great. One advantage I see in our favor is that we've had some time off, after a couple of canceled games, right? The extra time, especially beneficial, giving the little time that Rolo has to install the run and shoot, right? Not concerned about DeLora. He's been running the run and shoot his entire career, all through high school. That's all he knew. That's all he did. It's just a new system with Rolovich, right? It's just new. And sometimes it takes a while for the rest of the team to get that one accord. And I think the past couple of weeks, although there have been limited practices because of COVID, right? I think we're gonna be there. It's sometimes it's just a short year, and we had that break. Let's take that setback and make it a set up for something better. And that better is we're going to be a better team coming into the Coliseum. Warmer weather in LA. A lot of our guys are from the state of California, especially Southern California. It's their hometown, even though their families can't be there in the stands. They're there on the TV, but they feel like they're back at home, and that is very exciting for these guys, right? So no stands whatsoever. No fans in the stands, but it is home for a lot of guys, and it's warm. It's going to be great. I think, hopefully, right? Everybody's super excited. Sunday, primetime East Coast. The only other game on Sunday night is that Sunday night football. So it's either Sunday night football or all eyes on this big college game, Washington State and USC. It's going to be, a lot of guys are going to be watching this all across the country. It's going to be great exposure. Hey, that's it for USC on the second half of Podcast Coug. We've got a new website, by the way. Check it out, PodcastCoug.com. You're going to find our future schedules all the way through to 2031. You're going to be surprised what you see on Home and Homes. And if you're a Beatles fan, check out my About Me page. You're going to be kind of interesting on who I hung out with backstage a few years ago. If you're a Beatles fan, check it out. That is on my About Me page. New website, PodcastCoug.com. Back to Bob Robertson. If you're interested in forming some sort of a committee to erect a bronze statue, right, to figure it out, get something over to Kurt Schultz or Pat Chun, contact me. Hit me up at my contact page. I don't know how we're going to do it. We'll figure it out. Some guys, maybe we just need how we present it. If you've got a skill set that you have an idea that we can present this to the university to get some sort of bronze statue, at least a foundation there going as a buy-in. We can worry about the funds later. We'll get the funds. $50K is not that difficult, right? Perhaps, like I said, the universities are doing something about it, but if we don't do something now, it's just going to be too late. I think something needs to be done. Bob Robertson, we love you. We love you. All right. Hey, thank you for all the years, Bob Rob. God bless the Robertson family. And that's it for the fourth episode of the Podcast Coug Season 5. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe. It's Washington State SC on Sunday. God bless and go Cougs.
You've been listening to the Podcast Coug with your host, James Laurie. The Podcast Coug is your weekly Coug on Demand show featuring all things Cougs and Washington State Cougar football. This has been a presentation of the Podcast Coug Radio Network. Find us at PodcastCoug.com.
T-O-N-Z-A-T.